indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today we have Councilmember Swanson, Councilmember Palmer, Mayor Bombard present, and Councilmember Hill appearing virtually. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Dave. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Kyle. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed with a roll call vote. Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Dave?
Yeah.
And I will also vote yes. That motion carries. All right, that takes us on to item number 4.1, goal setting.
Did you receive?
Yes.
Okay, so I know you wanted to do council goals too, but I forwarded you the goals from staff for you to look at. Some may change a little bit from like maybe review time because they had set goals at review time. So other than that, if you wanted to.
I gotta ask a
Discussing.
question. Is staff there? Because I
No,
can't see.
no, the room's empty.
Okay, okay. That answers my question.
So I guess it was an interesting batch. There is some grammatical errors in some of them. It'd be nice to get it cleaned up. This one in the finance directors. Some of them seem more like things they want to continue throughout the year and less like council focused goals, I guess, goals for their development, but it'd be nice. There were some very specific ones for the departments that I think were good for us. I don't know that I need to approve their personal growth goals or what they continue on. But some of them were very good.
One thing, and I will apologize, I kind of skimmed through most of these, so I didn't take a deep dive. Where are we at as far as the Connex box full of files from the old courthouse?
Great question. It started back up this week.
Okay.
So there's scanning and shredding going on.
Okay.
It had been.
Think of
Okay.
okay.
I got
ahead, Dick.
I got a suggestion here. You know, I don't know what everybody else is thinking, but I obviously, when I went through these and I kind of thought in my mind that staff was going to be there and that would make things easier when we're jumping around with these questions. But what, you know, I would really appreciate if we just went like through each one of them, planning, fire, deputy clerk, you know, on them one at a time and just get them, just go through them. And I think we can probably, we can always
Just
come
spend-
back. If somebody's got
Yeah,
a
like a
question.
couple minutes on each because we don't want to, you know, we don't want it to be like a review time either.
I got notes on just about every one of them and maybe
Oh,
one or
okay.
two points and I know I've heard a couple of you guys say a couple things that I never thought of. And so, you know, it'd be nice to just go through each one, but you guys, whatever you want to do, it don't matter to me, I guess.
I agree with Dave. For me, my perspective with the staff goals are as a council, how can we not in the quote unquote day-to-day level support organizational performance through helping make sure that staff have the tools and resources available to achieve their personal goals. Because I agree with Mr. Palmer, some of the things read like tactics to a goal, maybe not necessarily a goal, but a good, like, for instance, I'm thinking like how to be a better manager would be the goal, and then tactics would be the things that you're going to do, the coursework that you're going to do,
Sure.
rather than listing tactics. But how, as a council, can we build staff goals into our being of support to those goals rather than managing them for them?
Exactly.
Because I feel like that's more your responsibility than our responsibility. And that's just my 2 cents on staff. And
Well,
then,
I guess maybe starting off with planning. I'll just
Okay.
do you know, looking at planning, it was nice to see what Tabitha was thinking as far as what is important to her. I don't know how many of those things that she listed were important to the council. It just, and then one of the things that I guess maybe I should be a little more up on titles and stuff like, the 2 or 3 letters that indicate something. I know most of them, but I never was on the planning commission, and I don't, so a lot of these things I don't know. It'd be nice to have a little explanation, what she's talking about on each thing. So I thought she spent a lot of time, on a wish list and not exactly what her goals were.
I kind of disagree with you on that point, Dave, especially on the planning side of things. And this is, being on planning commission, this is something that we talk about almost every meeting, is bringing the code up to date, bringing ordinances up to date, working on the things. I see a lot of things in here that are, there's a lot of gray area in some of our, like a mixed use unit or things like that, that say, maybe it's mixed use, but don't specify what mixed use is, or that there's business on the bottom and residential on top and things like that. So I think it's kind of, I read through Tabitha's and saw a lot of advancing and answering, getting rid of the gray area and being a lot more black and white and a lot more modern and up-to-date code that works today, or will work going forward, and doesn't have so many questions in it.
Oh.
So I guess I like what's in here, but I feel like a lot of it could probably be contained down into one bullet point for a planning goal. And as Mr. Swanson said, these are the checklists that they have to hit to make that bullet point. But at a council level, are we going to go through and check off every single one of these as she goes through them? Or once she succeeds at the whole bullet point, is that when we're going to check off on it?
Because we will see these at a lot of this at planning commission, but I don't know. I'm assuming that if it's an ordinance change or a zoning change, we will see the end product here at council, versus kind of the nitty gritty and the nuts and bolts of everything.
Well, I guess I agree with Kyle, and that was maybe the point I should have said. I really, that's kind of what I meant, and I'm glad Kyle gave me the words I didn't have. But that's kind of what I meant, that I thought it really was too many different things, and it could have been condensed. You're right. I agree with Kyle on that.
Okay.
Then
Dan?
I don't know, the next thing I just went by the list. I went to the left side and right side, but the fire, looking at the fire, our fire list from Mr. Miller.
Are we moving on then?
Well, before we
Okay,
jump
well, we
over
don't
it,
have to. I guess I just did because I thought we stopped, but I guess.
is there any other things that we want to add to the planning goals as far as development or businesses? I know it kind of differs a little bit, but planning does kind of get into those things. Or do we want to put anything for directives for annexation plans and a roadmap for that? I mean, we all got the stuff, but we're going to have to actually start implementing it at some point. So,
And almost like a timeline of what that would look like.
Like a capital assessment or a capital needs, but not like a 10-year plan or a growth plan for.
right. This gives us a really good pathway to these things. It would be nice to see that in some of those other major goals where we could look at it from a high level, at council level, and then watch the checklists go down and updates and stuff. Yeah, I don't, this is just my opinion. I don't want to spend a lot of time taking away from what staff wants to do. I am more prepared as how the staff goals fit into overall council goals. But that's just my opinion. I think, like with planning, for instance, what she's trying to do fits well with economic development and housing. So that could be, her goals could fit right into our overreaching, if you will, I don't know, umbrella of economic development and housing. Yeah, I don't,
Well, I noticed that a lot of it lined up with the comprehensive plan, if you look at that, and then,
Mhm.
and I don't have it with me, so I didn't want to look it up online, but I thought a lot of what she was saying really kind of fit a lot of those categories, and nothing wrong with that, I guess.
No, that would make sense. She spent a lot of time working on that, so. it
Yeah,
makes
no,
sense.
I think I could
Yeah.
see a lot of that in there, and I didn't realize that till I was reading a lot more, and then I was thinking about it, and that's what kind of hit me.
So I have that you're looking for even an annexation timeline of the steps we would be taking.
if she's following the comprehensive plan, just put a couple bullet points in layman's terms that line up with council perspectives in my mind, and then you can break it down by every single one. But when I think of goal setting, I'm really thinking of it at a very high level. The details are awesome, and as we accomplish them, they're awesome. And at the review, we should review them. I don't know that we want to check them off at every single council. No, because because to me, the planning, just using planning as an example, what you stated about having a clear, definable, workable code that's up to date, that's the goal. Right. These are all tactics to that goal to me. Like everything that's listed in the planning goals is all things that are necessary to make a code more user friendly. That's just my take on it.
I do want to move on to the next.
Sure.
Okay. Parks and public buildings. Is that your next one too?
On parks and public buildings, it is.
Yeah, that's fine with me. It doesn't matter which way we go. We got to go through all of them. Just take one at a time is what I was thinking. But Park and Recs, I thought, I thought it was rather brief, what he was telling us. I would have liked to seen, there was a few controversial things that happened last year, and I don't know if you can call it controversial, is not really the right word, but the swimming beach, the swimming lesson program, different things like that we had some questions on, and there was some decisions that we thought could have been changed as far as prices and whatever, and timelines and how long everything is open and stuff. I didn't see anything that indicated, that what his goals were to whether or not that needed to be in there or not. But I think that's a very high as far as the populace, that's very high on their list of what's going to happen this next year, and that's a big.
Can I address that one real quick, because me too. The beach has been a huge thing on my shoulders. So we have now met a few times. We are meeting weekly, and we're going to have a fantastic summer. So I feel like we're ahead of just staying on top of the planning of it. And I mean, he could have put that in here too, but I mean, we are staying on top of that for the beach season, the opening days, the closing days. Next week we'll have the sessions set, and we've contacted everyone who's going to be coming back, and the training has already started. So I feel very optimistic.
Well, I appreciate that. I think that's that's kind of what I wanted to hear, and
Okay.
And that'll make everybody. I think just even having the beach house open is going to make everybody happy. So yeah, no more porta potties, hopefully. So no, I think there's a lot of positive, and maybe I think a lot of Mr. Bloomquist's personality. He doesn't have to gloat about what he did, and he never does. He's just, we know that there's always something being done. He's kind of like the ever ready bunny, and things get done. But sometimes we need to hear that, so then when we get questions, we can give answers. So, but other than that, I'm very pleased at the performance so far.
And again, to me, for parks like this,
Man,
everything, there's 3 goals here to me. The first one being parks needs a home, and everything that's listed are then tactics to getting parks into a home. The second one down to me is becoming a better manager or evolving managerial skills. And then everything that's listed is tactics to becoming a better manager. And then same with the equipment piece, you know, we need to tally down, and then these are all tactics of how we can get to that goal. And I, for me, year over year for this particular department, I like to see that it's been narrowed a little bit. And what I mean by that is that there are still things in here that are very important, but also realizing that running the operation is the most important thing and not getting bogged down. I think maybe we got a little bogged down last year. Just that was nature of the beast for the year, but
Yeah.
it would be kind of nice in this department to see some grant development or identification and pursued. Just because I think there is opportunity here.
And that is actually something he's done, and that could be something maybe he does on his monthly update too, to let you know of what the grants he's been applying for.
I think grants for him is always going to be probably an annual thing, but it's probably something that I'd always like to see on his goals, because I think it lines up really well with the council goals when you get grant money to do park stuff. I definitely like the idea that we're getting rid of unused equipment that's been sitting for a long time. Let's just make sure that we can get rid of it. I know we have some restrictions, but I do know we have some junk piles sitting around. So.
Kent, anything?
No, I like it. I like the grant development. It's great to hear that we're gonna have a good year at the beach this year.
Yeah, we've already reached out to all of, because we're doing the preschool, bringing that back. Last year was fiasco, but we are bringing preschool back, which because they were angry that we didn't have that last year. So we've already reached out to all the daycares in the neighborhood, and they're aware of this. We've figured out how many slots they need, and now we're figuring out how to get this. Our goal this week is to figure out where the slots are, what are the sessions, and then where does preschool go. So
Just back to Mr. Palmer's point about grants in this department. I don't have the budget in front of me, but does this department have the ability to spend any admin money to help with the grant applications and writing them and stuff, or is he doing it himself?
I think he's doing it himself.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know why we couldn't.
Maybe in this year's budget, we could look at putting some money in, so maybe there's grant writers or staff time that he can farm out. Not saying that he's not good at it, that's not my implication, just how can we help him?
There are
Second.
admin staff at parks. There are allocations that could help with that.
Okay. Just so that he's able to focus on what he needs to focus on, and we're able to, not saying that he doesn't have time to write grants in the winter, but in his window's pretty small.
And I think it's that touch on that a little bit too. I think if you are a grant writer and you write grants and that's what you do, I've seen it in other organizations where we say, it's fine, we can write that grant ourselves, and then we don't get the grant. But we go through the grant writer that we went through previously, and then we get the grant. So just having someone that knows the exact words and phrases to throw in there to catch people's eye, it might be helpful citywide to have a contract with them.
Tom has access to someone who helps him with the grant writing.
Sure.
If that grant writer is more than just fire, I think they could be a very good tool for maybe more departments.
Very good question.
And I don't want to make people think that they personally have to apply for the grants, that they don't feel qualified for it. I just want them to direct people to apply for grants or start searching for them. If the grant writer is the one to write them, great. But I just want them thinking about other options.
Okay, so after parks, I have fire. Fire next.
That can be next.
Okay.
who wants to start? It don't matter.
Go ahead, Dave, you can start.
Okay, well, what I thought I might hear a little bit about is goals on capital expenditures. I didn't, I thought, here's our largest department, and we know we've got some big expenditures coming in the next few years when the truck does come. But where are we at? Is he meeting goals with everything else? How is I'd like to hear, because his maintenance budget is so darn high, and it's not his fault. It's just because he's got a lot of equipment. I'd like to hear a little update on that. Them goals. I'm meeting my goals as far as getting things updated and completed and stuff. Everything else that he talked about, he talked about a lot of classes that he was looking like he wanted, and I guess that goes back to I don't know if Dan made the comment or something, but that's something that maybe that could be internal. It doesn't necessarily have to be brought to us. We kind of hope that our department heads are trying to get better at whatever they're doing, and if we in that part of the budget process, when they say I'm going to need money to go to this class or that class or even for his firemen, so we already expect that. The Knox box thing, that's been an ongoing project since we started Knox box back, I don't know, 30 years ago or better. That's always been a problem. I like the idea of tying that in with our life safety person to help monitor that or set up an inspection type program for that, because I think that is important. It doesn't do any good for the fire department to get there if they can't get in the door and they have to use their manual key, which is an axe. And we've done that plenty of times over the years. So yeah, other than that, I didn't see anything else that struck me too hard.
So the way I read this, a lot of it's tactics. Could have just said Knox box updates, that's a bullet point. New training schedule, that's a bullet point. It would be nice to see what a roadmap and possibly the cost to getting an ISO 3 would be, if he could identify those things. I know we're very close. I know one of the other things we talked about, and this would probably be working with the new
ISO 3.
Yes. The new public works director is looking at flow testing. I think it falls into his, Adams, and the public works directors for coming up with a plan. Making sure that our hydrants are identified for which ones are broken and which ones need to get into compliance or need to get fixed, because that's been an ongoing discussion. And then I think grants needs to be kind of an ongoing one on here, which he goes after them, but especially with the pots of money that grants typically come from fire being frozen over, if you will. I mean, we're couple of years behind on some FEMAs, and it doesn't sound like the money is going to start flowing any more readily. No.
Yeah, no, it won't.
Might have to get creative in some different grants opportunities with how things are
going. This is a little in the weeds, but I know he's I see on his one of his goals, goal number 3 is ArcGIS mapping. I'd like to throw that towards Tabitha as well too, because I think that's something that could greatly benefit the planning department and zoning. If we could, it's an expensive piece of software that if we were to dive into, it does a lot of super cool things, but it'd be nice to get it, if we move forward with it, to get as much utilization of it as we can.
Would that be maybe lots of departments? Because I could think benefits for public works and possibly parks.
Yeah, I would say almost every department could have some sort of use case for it.
All it takes is money.
About $1,700 a license a year.
And before I space it, one goal that would be nice to see for all the departments would be to get them public speaking classes. They do have to stand up and present to us, and sometimes I can tell their confidence maybe is not there, or they're not projecting their conversation the best. I think that would benefit council goals if they can confidently articulate what they're trying to get across. One thing that I would like to see with fire, and this is just my opinion, is the continual development of the roadmap of our mutual aid departments and mutual aid areas. I know we're engaged in a fire district study right now. I also know that we're engaged in talks with other cities about the northern share too. Like to see how the northern share can continue to develop out and how that could benefit our entire area. And I know that the fire district study is going to be talked about for the rest of the year, but I don't know how that plays into the chief's role at this point.
Should we add something to fire? Or I know when we purchased the ladder truck, there was a thought that maybe we could shift around some of our inventory. Would we want to see that as like a capital expenditure and
Oh, the
like a
future.
like a future use plan of I want to get rid of this engine or this truck and swap it out with this? And
I can say through some questions that I've asked the chief over the last couple months that he has that all in his head. It just needs to be put on paper.
Okay,
He's, oh, we'll
Yeah.
get rid of this one and do this with this one, and then this one can go here, and then this one and that one. And we'll,
okay. That's
if it
good.
could be a really easy layman term document, I would really appreciate that at
Yep.
budget time.
and I was just gonna say, I think it's
So keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid.
I would love to see we have a pretty decent capital expenditure plan. I feel like when budget time comes, but I would love to see that be no surprises would be fantastic. I mean, that's never going to happen in government, right? But it would be nice to know that we're not walking in to spend
Million.
$1 million, $2 million in a year that we didn't necessarily plan on spending that money. So
Moving on to fire and life.
I love the unsafe vacant structures thing that he wants to do, put the signs on structures. I would, again, maybe cross-departmentally like to see fire and life work with planning and what can we do with these unsafe vacant structures, other than leave them unsafe and vacant. So my only question, I love this too. I have seen this in some fire shows actually, but one of the concerns that I have is it going to identify locations that are vacant for people that might want to go in there as homeless people or tear up or party, or what are we going to do to make sure that those facilities are not becoming a campground? So yes, firefighters could stay outside, but what's to guarantee that it's not occupied? You could build those into the GIS system.
I was just gonna say, I wondered if that would be a better, like a digital, if you had a map and you could look at that property, oh, that's a vacant structure or has vacant structures or.
I mean, that would be hard to see if you rolled up to it on a fire. I wonder if we have options on being able to maybe secure the building better, or if we have follow-up inspections to see if those access points have been tampered with. As I just don't want a bunch of homeless people or people who enjoy making their own products to turn them into dens. Oh, and legally, once somebody's in and squatting, getting somebody out is expensive and lengthy. It's not like we can just call the sheriff to have them come take it.
Right. I like the idea a lot. When I first saw the bright red sign, I was like, ooh, that's kind of a,
Get your attention.
hey, there's nobody here.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Dave, did you have anything for fire and life?
Well, I did. I was just waiting to let everybody else have a turn first. I don't like to always be first. Sometimes I like to be last. No, anyway, no, I liked his, what he said. As far as, I think the point that was, what I like to see was when he talked about city buildings, you know, and I remember back when we started the liquor inspections, I made the point to the mayor at that time, I believe it was Jane. I said, well, we gotta go through our liquor store. Why is that? Because I said, our buildings aren't any better than anybody else's buildings. And if we can't keep our buildings safe, how can we go and point the finger at somebody else? So I like how he feels that way. And I think it's important that we need to be an example, not the problem. So I liked what he put in there. And he had a lot of stuff that was similar to what the chief said about the Knox boxes and stuff and working together on that. I think there was a lot of good in what he said. And as far as marking the buildings, that code changes frequently. I mean, there's a lot of cities. I remember when I ran into my first few buildings that I had to secure. You constantly got to look and see what changes are in that law, because there's a lot about what you do to somebody's personal property that's very, very risky if you're on the wrong end of what you think is right. So I think he knows how to do that. I think the example of this house showed us that he definitely knows what he's doing when it comes to this stuff, or he's found out the right information anyway. And I think moving forward, you know, to use what he has learned and what he can learn, and using the codes and the statutes, I think we're in good hands. And so, yeah, I'm pretty pleased with, and I love that. I think it's good to warn people. I have seen other examples, and I don't know if I've talked to Adam about this when I was helping him learn the job, but there also is cities do put signage out, like how these real estate signs are, or any type of sign, stick it in the yard saying unsafe building. You don't necessarily have to always just put it on the building itself. You can put it on the property to give people a warning that this is not a safe property.
If this becomes part of our official goals, I do wonder if maybe 7-10 Second Ave should be removed from the official city goals, because that's very specific. Great plan, very specific.
Great goal for fire and life, but maybe not necessarily at the 30,000 foot level.
Yeah.
All right, deputy clerk.
Oh, we're gonna have fun with this one. She's there
Yeah.
too, right?
Lay in, come on, lay in.
She can't hit me because I'm too far away.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it looks great. There's a lot here. The one thing that I'm personally concerned about is the election administration this year, and making sure that we can stay as far ahead of that as humanly possible. Do we need to ask the sheriff to be outside? Like, there's different things that we may have to consider this year that we haven't had to consider. But it's good. There's a lot there. So
I wrote down records management. You know, I think somebody brought it up about the storage and retention, and that's always, as far back as I can remember, my early years that was always part of the deputy clerk's job, and it still is, to direct that or actually watch it or supervise it or police it. I guess I don't know what the right words are, but if it sounds like we're starting on it, I guess you said, Marcy, on that.
Yeah, we started back up this week after a hiatus.
I guess the goal is, when can we get rid of the storage unit? I guess that was what I was thinking. You know,
Do you have
I
a
don't
goal in
wanna-
mind? I mean, we should, that's
I
what
don't
was
want to
thinking
get rid of
about.
it completely, because
Monday.
I think we can always find a use for that box.
Yeah,
Yeah.
use it or sell it,
There's gonna
Well,
be
I think we could. I don't think we
a lot of
want to get rid of it. I think we'll
files
always
that
find a
we
use for
cannot
it
get rid
somewhere.
of. And until we get more storage in a building, because all those are planning documents that are permanent.
Sure.
Can we, one thing to look into, some of that permanent, maybe that's just the archive stuff. some of the permanent stuff you can send off to the Minnesota Historical Society, the actual paper copies, and make it be, the paper copies be their problem. So I wonder if we could take a scan of it and not have the originals anymore, but there's a, I've got a binder on my desk at work that's, from the Historical Society that shows exactly what and where and how long and things. So,
I don't suppose there's any way to seal the individual document and stick it in that Connex box that might end up having all its equipment go up to Public Works, is there? Put that out somewhere.
Bringing the whole box up there.
Yeah, we got any vacant properties around? Oh, yeah. Shuffle everything into.
Well, I think it's handy for the staff to have it close right now. I'm looking at, obviously we're thinking of the future and possibly a different location for our city hall, but then I think that problem should get solved, but until that time, it'd be nice to just kind of get it as empty as possible.
do you think by the end of this year is reasonable?
I would think so.
By end of 2026, we should have everything figured out, what has to be saved, what has to go, what can go, what can be digital, what needs to be the paper copy, and use the box for something else, hopefully, maybe.
Yeah.
Eventually,
That'd be good.
Or sell it.
or sell it.
Oh, so it's one thing about those, they only go up in
Yeah.
value.
Mhm.
The complete the year 3 of the Clerks Institute, I think that's more of a personal goal for development for your job. I don't know that it would be like a council member. That's kind of something I expected, so. The other ones are really good, so.
And I do have an update on Sequoia Fix.
On what?
The Sequoia Fix.
Oh.
That will be launched on June 1st.
Awesome.
She left that meeting very excited.
Which
You-
sounds
you-
like a long time away, but it's not.
Melanie, you talked about data request that you were working, is there some challenges with that, or is there a system set up who handles it and where it goes, or?
It's about to be put into Sequoia Fix.
That's what I was wondering, if that was what that was
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, it's for it's gonna be for a lot of things. It's gonna be really nice.
Okay. Is there some way to get some kind of a overview of that, or is there like a video, or? I don't know.
Oh, that's a good question.
I will look
I was just
tomorrow,
wondering if-
Monday. And possibly
What's that?
send that out. I can look on Monday and possibly send something out.
It'd be really nice to give us a little better, I'd like a little better overview of what this whole thing is, and maybe I could Google it, I suppose, but that's sometimes.
No,
doesn't-
she'll look into it Monday and send you something.
Sounds like a winner.
Send them to a city that has it already. And you can go poke around and play with it.
I think,
Yes. Turn in all these complaints.
Yeah.
well, that was the other one that I had the app for.
Yeah. Could I make a suggestion that we do the city administrators last and do
Yep.
everybody else's first?
Yep. Okay, go, who's this one? Finance director would be next then.
Yeah.
You need this. Use it, okay. All right, finance director, Dave.
Oh, okay.
So the fourth bullet point down, I'm guessing that's supposed to be life, not life, or whatever it is.
Oh, life, correct.
But a lot of this stuff is like what they should be doing at their job or what they feel like their job should be. And I don't know that it's the goals that I'm looking for. I know that audit we had some trouble with the actual auditor having some delays, but one of the goals in my mind would be to finally get to the point where everything lined up and we had an audit come in on time. And that would be something that I'd always like to see on the goals. But as far as like continuing to build confidence and leadership or work-life goals and that sort of thing, that doesn't fit in at a council level for goals. That's kind of a personal job in my mind.
I guess for me with finance, I think it's maybe a little bit more difficult than like Parks and Rec or fire, like numbers are numbers and money is money and the money is what the money is, kind of. It's hard to, having a clean audit not done on time, that's a good goal. I can see that as a good goal, but it's, we could include wrapping Nicole in on some more grant things. We've come a long way from where we were.
Yeah, and
I
she's,
think that kind of, you know, Kent, that kind of goes with supervisor, and you know, that's Marcy's job to make sure that she's doing whatever we're directing, that what we're requesting. I guess.
yeah, and we've still been working. It's gonna be a process where, we have an employee who's been here for decades, and what happened is they got dumped on jobs that weren't related to their job at all. And so we've been working at removing those, and like special assessments, we're taking that back, water tax payments. So, and really doing a separation of duties between getting, getting billing out and then receiving. They're completely separate now by different people. So it's a work in progress.
Yeah, so I guess my list of goals for that department would be pretty short. A clean audit, public speaking classes, and then the communication with departments that I think is good. When department heads present on things that they need for capital or just regular operation, I think that would almost be a dual presentation to some effects. Just because we are going to need to know the numbers financially on how that shakes out. So when they come up and present it the first time, I don't want to really hear that it's going to go back and we're going to find out more and bring it back in a month. I kind of like to be given everything in one shot up front so I can think about it and not kind of wonder until the next council meeting. Short list.
Okay. Next one I have is liquor store. Short and sweet. Next one's liquor store, Dave.
I really like.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at my notes here, but if somebody else wants to start, I'm just reading my notes.
I understand opening a new liquor store, but could we put another goal in there to try and, is there like a sales target that we can try and achieve? If it's not achievable, but it'd be nice to throw something out there to see that, what steps are we taking to move in that direction?
You know,
One of the things that I know the liquor committee looked at was, you know, these new ways of marketing. And I didn't see a lot of that in her report, or none of it, I guess. And I'd like to see a little more of that. Where are we at that, you know, as far as online? One of the things I was going to question, or of course I haven't been around obviously, and the goal is to get back and around. It won't be too long, hopefully. But you know, with everything going on, you know, I mean, everybody's Amazon, you know, why can't we be the Amazon of Pine City delivering? I mean, is that, and you know, I'd like to talk to her about that.
That's an option with this new online we have. I don't know if you
Right.
guys have signed.
I did not know that.
Yep. So you can order online, and she sends out coupons, because I signed up to get these notifications. So I got a little text that said, spend $75, get 10 off. So she's using that to market and get sales online like that. So it's new, you know.
Is this that City Hive?
Yep, City Hive.
Yeah, that's what I couldn't remember the name of it. That was.
Yep.
And if you go on our website,
I would have liked to heard a little bit about that. You know, how is she
Yeah.
doing that goals and stuff.
Yeah, there are cities who have delivery service. They use like an Uber kind of thing where the driver then has to be responsible, holds all liability for the delivery, and they have to check, the driver has to deliver the alcohol, check your ID. And when I went with Laura to one of these presentations, the driver said he actually wouldn't deliver it because he could tell. He saw kids in the house. There was a parent who was obviously intoxicated, and the driver refused to drop off the liquor. And so then they came back to the store. The sale was voided. So, yeah, it's interesting.
I've done that in Florida, Texas, somewhere. It came through DoorDash.
That's
I asked for your ID at the door, and here you go. Weirdest thing that I
Yeah.
ever.
I have a friend in the West Coast that owns a business called Rum Runner, and that's what they do. They provide service to bars and restaurants where they'll pick up your liquor order and deliver it for you, or they do for all the liquor operations to bring to people's house and cannabis.
I think we all know that's kind of the wave of the future. I like to touch my vegetables and my fruit, so I'm not going to be a Walmart drive-up customer for a while, I don't think. But we got to realize this is what people are doing, so that's what I'd like to see is more of that type of goals.
So for me, in continuation, or maybe as part of the opening a new liquor store, I would like to see continuing to educate the public about what a municipal liquor store is, what the funds, how it's a self-sustaining entity, where the money goes, and try to get community involvement and a little bit more forward facing with it. Just to create some excitement rather than animosity.
There's a lot of folks in the community that don't know.
Yeah.
That think it's paid for by tax dollars, that think it's, there's a lot of the gamut of things that people assume, and it's.
I took a very upset call this week from a resident who thought that's exactly what it is. I don't want my tax dollars. So yeah, the more we can educate.
And in my opinion, it's never going to be enough, but everything that we can do to be more transparent and more public facing, the better off we're going to be. That's just my.
That's a good point.
Okay. I think then the last.
I've got one more for
Okay.
liquor, and maybe this might go along with marketing and sales. I know back in my retail days, there was a percentage that went. Now, living in the real world, I know it's not sustainable, but I know that there was basically when you broke it down, it was your store was expected to do 5% better every year than it did the year prior. Now, in the real world, that doesn't necessarily always work out that way, but putting the goals out there to always kind of keep that reaching for a goal or trying to attain a goal rather than just saying, yep, we're kind of doing as good as we can do. Not saying that that's what's happening, but just make sure that we're kind of pushing that, driving more sales, driving more dollars into the store.
I think that kind of goes along with what I said in the beginning, but I do really like that idea, and I don't know what an achievable number is. But maybe you double the achievable number and you try and work your way there. Right? You hit it, awesome. If you don't, at least we're still moving that direction.
All right, city administrator.
Oh, geez, I'm gonna have fun with this one. I put two words down when I went through that. I put down the word "good luck" with a question mark and an exclamation point. You got a lot going on. Goals, yeah, goals to see in my mind are how smooth is it going? How satisfied is the council? Are we happy with the environment? To me, I think this year, even though we've had some ups and downs, has been one of the more enjoyable years that I've ever experienced in city government. I think we've seen a lot of positive changes. We've seen a lot of good things happen. Granted, we've had some disappointments, but I'm really pleased with a lot of that. I'd like to see, the goal setting internally, and then we share that when we get into the review process, where you're at and what's going on. I don't know. I can't find the right words. I didn't get a lot of time to spend on you because I spent too much time on everybody else, but.
I think under 2, to have a complete onboarding package for council and committees, that kind of hits more with the council goals. The other items in there are great for your development.
Yeah.
But maybe not necessarily a council goal, kind of an expectation. I think at the review, that's where we hit those check marks saying that you got those points. I think the other component in here is ultimately you're gonna want to try and make sure all the department heads hit their council goals. And I think that's kind of gonna have to be one of those items, is to try and push them to hit those goals as well. And maybe that's not achievable, but it at least gives you the ability to kind of prompt them along.
And almost tie it into, because we're doing great with our monthly meetings, even tie that into check-ins. Well, we did start back up in the conference room. We have that board. So I was gonna take a picture of it and send it to you guys too, because at the monthly meeting, we keep around our targets of what we're trying to hit to, for each department. If you ever stop in, you can see our board, and it's updated monthly, so.
And you have some dates in here about like starting the 2027 budget. I think that's great. I think if the goals that you're setting or the department heads are setting, it'd be nice to have that as an end point so that you can kind of, like you said, at the monthly meetings, push them along. 60% of the year is gone. Have you started your goal?
Yeah.
It'd be nice to see. No, I don't pay super close attention to your whiteboard, but do you date when you put something on the whiteboard? Like if you dated when you add a task to the whiteboard and then give it an estimated completion date, and then once that date is surpassed, revisit that item, or sorry, I'm again going back to my old school retail days. And if you put a goal there, I'm gonna procrastinate if there's no
Yeah,
complete by
because I
date.
do that with my personal ones. I date the day I wrote it. I'm like, oh my goodness, okay, that needs to become a priority. Yeah, so we don't on the board though, but that's a good idea.
Is there specific community events every single month, or do they seem to kind of clump up throughout the year?
There's monthly events.
There is,
Yeah, they
okay.
do like new business recognitions. I haven't been attending those. I think it's good for someone from the city to attend those. The chamber, I haven't been good at going to those this year. So I think it's good just to make a point at least quarterly to be seen, someone from the city to be seen, showing that we care about our new businesses, about the new developments.
Do you think that would fall onto your shoulders to meet it every single one of those, or is that something where we would start kind of rotating city staff to get some exposure to what's going on out there?
Yeah, and some staff have come to the different chamber events with me.
Okay.
It's nice to not go alone too.
The only thing on here that I would like to see personally is under the community relations piece is maybe once a month. Is there a way that the city administrator could put out a letter to the community? Like maybe taking part of your admin update. I'm not trying to create any more work or anything, but just maybe like hey, from Marcy, here's what's going on this month. There's
So I had mentioned account, because I didn't know how you felt about my weekly updates. And so I had thought about going back to them, because I don't do the monthly on the agendas. So would you like me to do that as well? Then the community sees it as well.
I almost like the idea of having a broader platform. I'm not sure if everybody's engaging in the agendas, and I wonder if maybe like the Facebook or the city website might be. I know that you've been updating the website more. I do know a lot of people follow Facebook. I wonder if that might be a good platform for it.
And do it through the city page though.
Or I wonder, could you buy an article in the paper once a month or once a quarter, or
There's a lot of people that read the paper.
it gets pricey, I know, but that might be a way to get, especially that not everybody
Can you
has
send
Facebook.
an
not
article
everybody
through your
has.
push
I
thing?
thought they were the
That's-
city's newspaper.
I can send a
They're
link.
supposed to push
to
out
the
the
website.
articles.
They still charge us for articles. We
What
might
about
have to-
WC? Did you say WCMP?
Oh, we did not. We could do
Could do
that.
that.
Great.
Yeah.
But just something once a month, hey, it's Marcy, you know, maybe everything in the admin update isn't public knowledge, but there's enough there. I'm not trying to create any more work, but again, just another public facing point of contact that we can make with the public.
And are you thinking more written versus?
Whichever, the medium to me, like to Mr. Palmer's point, everybody consumes media differently. Some people listen to the radio, some Facebook, some newspaper, some website.
You can make your own
Maybe
TikToks.
If it's one thing, you can put it out on all.
I know, I was thinking how we pushed Adam with his monthly radios. Those have been fantastic.
And they've turned into.
And now he's
people
got
before.
other, you know, Park came on the last one. We've had Hinkley on them. They're fun. And now they have a camaraderie on their interviews. So it's just every month it gets better.
For me, it comes from a place of culture that we, over the last 2 years, have spent so much time and talent and treasure to improve the city's culture with the public, and anything that we can do, in my opinion, to continue to change that culture to make the city more approachable.
Yeah, we don't have the best track record with approachability with our last DAs.
So now that you say that, so now with the sewer districts, I've been talking with townships more, and I could see how even trying to get to townships council meetings. I don't know, is that something I should think about?
I don't know that I would get out there because you'd end up with a lot of township stuff. And I feel like they might decide to unload or try and rope Pine City into doing more stuff for them. And I think at some point, if we're gonna entertain things that they want, I think we should look at annexation. And I think we should start kind of pulling away some of the services that we provide them, because we do provide a lot of extra services that go out to the townships. And I'm not sure that's fair to our residents. So the stuff like the fire meetings, although the last fire meeting, I don't know that that was very beneficial for any of us to go to.
That was not our normal meeting. I've not been to a meeting like that.
I think you gotta take it with a grain of salt. If it's something really controversial that the city should be involved in, use your judgment on it.
Okay.
But if it's just a standard day-to-day operation, they should run their own show. So, my thoughts.
Also don't want to appear as though we're trying to step on someone's a different form of local government's toes to
You wanna go to a bunch of extra meetings? No. Dave, any more thoughts?
No, I agree with you 100% on what you just said.
All right, that concludes staff. Does council have goals they would like to see be achieved this year?
Well, I came a little bit different than I think I should have, but I broke it down into 5 different like categories. One is infrastructure, public utilities. One is economic development / housing. One is public safety / community health. One is governance / engagement, and one is organizational performance. Because to me, and what I've been reading and trying to educate myself on local government, those are kind of the 5 things that everything that we do fall under. And like in infrastructure, public utilities, for me, I had a capital improvement plan for 5 years that actually is close to being something that we can build off of, as well as maybe a 5-year strategic plan, or maybe even a 1-year strategic plan to start with. And in that, like, we've got road reconstructions or reconstruction projects to start thinking about. Not like we're doing them this year, but we got to get, here. So I have economic development and housing. I had actually permit streamlines and continue to work on housing overall through EDA, through HRA, through planning. Like a lot of the department heads fall into that. Public safety and community health. I had the hazardous mitigation plan. Could be something this year that I need to get better at myself personally, to understand how that works, and the metrics and the matrix and the people who are responsible for what. And then I had fire area in there as well, because again, fire district study in our northern area. Governance and engagement, I had budget. Again, things that finance director said, things that city administrator, but the budget to me, again, how can we make it more public facing? How can we get the public more involved with the initial parts of it? How do we as a council support the budget being written and executed and you know, all the things that go along with that? And public perception, a lot of things that we've talked about through different individuals. Again, how do we continue to change a culture of public perception and approachability? And organizational performance, staff goals, and digital tools for key performance indicators would be things that I would put under there. How, as a council person, can I help the city administrator manage the staff and decisions that need to be made to make sure that everybody is able to be successful? That's what I had.
Was good.
Trying to think how to top that one.
Yeah, go next.
I was gonna say, I didn't get the memo on that one. I did. But
Give
good
me
job.
counsel-
I think we'd all
counsel
agree
goals.
with you.
Yeah.
To kind of piggyback off of Dan here, I say anything that we can do to streamline and make a task either internal or external as easy as possible. Whether that be, look, I know there's companies that do like e-permitting. I don't know if we do e-permitting now, but you could do just go to the website, fill out your permits. It's going to cost a little bit of money up front, but then you also have that digital record everywhere, and it's a lot harder to lose a digital record than it is on half a piece of paper that's on someone's desk or shuffles back and forth between multiple people.
I think walking through the water and sewer study with Ellers and how our capital improvement plan was so placeholder and no details, and how that hurts us significantly in trying to plan for the future. That's so huge in my mind.
Yeah.
Well, it takes the budget to, in my opinion, it takes the budget to a singular myopic. You're looking at this much of the budget instead of looking at a 5-year chunk of the budget. How does this year's budget play into next year's budget, play into next year's budget? Whereas, you know, maybe we have a fire truck this year, and then next year will be a little bit softer. But then what, you know, how do we get out? To me, it's how do we open the blinders up? Because I still have blinders on. I'm working on it, but how do I get my blinders open up to see the whole picture?
And another goal I think would be, in my mind, it was mentioned today that one department head has everything up here. I think we have a previous department head that had a lot of things up here and not on paper. So making sure that we have plans and policies and procedures and documentation for everything, or anything that's, we could all get hit by a bus tomorrow, and
Yeah.
somebody, the expectation from our constituents is that somebody else can step in and pick up without
Yeah,
a whole lot of drama. So
that's something our finance director's been working on a lot, is getting these, because there's so much she does that's monthly and then quarterly and then semi-annually. And so she's been getting that in a how to do kind of thing. So should something happen, we have an idea.
And that to me might be something that we could look at subbing out to. Like some of that, most of that input would have to come from department heads, but as far as tallying and putting everything together, maybe that's somebody that we sub out to. That builds it. But like you say, onboarding here, perfect.
One of the things that would be nice to try and figure out is a better way to advertise that we're open to economic development and housing. Historically, we always saw the same people, which is great, but I've been finding that a lot of people don't know that there's a lot of availability for us. And historically, they've been maybe turned off by previous leadership in the past because they've been outright denied. It'd be nice to advertise that we're open to proposals and we want to hear them. And we're going to look at it with an open mind.
Because that can help play into the capital plan and improvement projects too. Got somebody that comes in and we need to put in extra 500 feet of sewer to get, you know, we can build that into a plan and get off the assessment tip.
For the looping of the water line at the north end, I mean, that was a huge achievement. I don't know that we did the best job advertising that. That adds to the capabilities of the city and what kind of impact that could have on development throughout the city.
Or even what it does for the existing that are there now.
Right?
I can say I smile every time I wash my hands at the courthouse and think that even if one of the mains breaks, that the water's gonna keep going, but,
You know, every time we stir up the water, it stirs up a mess, and it'd be nice at some point to get to a point where we could fix that. And maybe that's a really long-term goal that takes a long time to develop, but it would be nice to stop getting complaints all the time about why everybody's laundry's brown. I don't hear this problem in a lot of other cities, so I don't know if it's something about our infrastructure, if we don't have enough people drawing water out of it, if we're not flowing in enough. I'm not really sure, but I'd like to have some more options on that, on how can we improve that.
Maybe loop back to make sure that people that are doing it are trained the appropriate way to do a hydrant, because there is a right way and a wrong way to clean a hydrant. And typically stir up is because you're cranking it on too fast.
I have, after my hydrants have been flushed, I have, turned the water on and it's orange for a few minutes.
Well, and for me, and this is just my, like, water is the most expensive utility that I pay. And now I have to run it for how many minutes, not only wasting the water, but having to pay for it. Again, that's just my tree hydrants.
We have lines that go under the river, right? One set. Should we have any kind of a goal in place to put in a second set? I know, Dave, you had spoken about this too at one point. If that ever goes out, we really don't have a good backup.
And what's gonna happen when they start the bridge work?
I thought we were hanging it, I thought they were gonna hang it on the bridge.
I don't know.
Didn't we tunnel? We tunneled, got a grant from, this is when Ken was the administrator. We got a grant to tunnel, or was that from the ponds to the outflow?
That
We-
might be by the dam.
Yeah, we got a grant and spent millions to do something about 8 to 10 years ago, but I don't remember what that was.
I feel like it was pond related.
Was drainage, or if it was, I don't know that it was to the sewer ponds, or if it was from the sewer ponds under the lake out to the,
I think, you know, in the future, or maybe, I don't know how far in the future, but a session with SEH, sitting down, looking at our present condition of what we got going on, what future projects that we need. I know they talked about once the bridge is taken out, well, it's half at a time, but that third street's gonna have to be rebuilt just to handle the sewage, because the line going to the lift station is smaller than what it could be, or might be able to handle the sewage from the north end of, or south end of town. And so we'd have to upgrade that, so we might as well upgrade the street. Well, at the same time, we've got the First Street and the Second Street and Second Avenue and First Avenue and stuff that all is supposedly needs upgrading. You know, maybe look at all that as one project. I don't know, along with the development that's in there. Maybe that's the time to think about it. Dollars, we probably don't have them, but I guess that's, we still should talk about it to see what, then we can kind of pick and choose. Because to me, that's, even though 9th Street and some of these other areas up on the west side of town, southwest part of town are in dire straits. I think there's some trade-off. I think we could do some, you know, some skimming and surface, you know, changing just to get by on some of those areas, you know, top coats or whatever they call it. I don't even remember anymore. But there's a lot of things that I think we need to have a session, just a work session, just to kind of look at that and see. He's told us a lot of stuff in the last few years that I can remember, even prior to when I got on the council, that we've talked about, but we've never done anything. So it'd be nice to maybe throw all that information together and see where we're at. We did get the loop done, which was a big thing, like Kyle said, that was a plus. And I know Ken agrees too. You can wash your hands and at least know that the water's not going to shut off on you. So, but
Well, and
that's
even
my,
part of the 3 to 5 year strategic plan is maybe looking at our neighbors to the south, Graham, what did they do and how did they do it to get all of that grant money put together to be able to do all the streets, curb, gutter, and all the mains at one time? And how can we do that?
I don't know if they completed all of it. I don't think all of it was done. I think the major
Well, not
portion
every, but a huge chunk.
a huge chunk of it, you're right, a huge chunk of it was done, but I still think I think they incurred a lot of debt too, from what I can understand from it.
I think at a certain point in time here, we're gonna reach a point where hopefully we're gonna start picking up a road project a year or a road project every other year. But I think given the condition of some of our streets, I mean, you could be looking at 10, 15, 20 years before we get everything done and get to start the project over again. Hopefully some of those streets can make it that long.
And the problem isn't the asphalt. The problem is the subgrade. And when we do mill and overlays, all you're doing is chewing up the asphalt, not doing anything with the subgrade. So you're gonna lose the asphalt again, short order.
We seem to have a lot of items or discussion points that seems to revolve around public works, which we don't have a public works goal. And I wonder if this is one of those places where we have to set some major goals on what we'd like to see. And maybe that's getting back to having SEH have that road replacement plan, having a map of what lines are out there and what their diameter is, because I know we have some weird connections out there. Identifying areas that could be looped to improve the service, what our options are for getting under 35 so we can supply the other side, which would be expensive. Having a backup plan that goes across the river, improving our snow plowing and towing capacity when we have those kind of things. Making sure our hydrants get fixed and flow tested. And then do we have to look at drilling any new wells in the near future and having anything with the water towers? I think our PFAS is kind of getting some bad raps lately.
Maybe a deadline on when,
They're changing.
not 2030.
The EPA is, as we speak, the EPA is going through the PFAS part again. I just read that the other day.
It's currently set at 2030. Are they thinking of shortening that timeframe?
Elongating the time frame and removing levels and removing chemicals and basically trying to make it go away without doing anything. Kind of what it
We need
reads.
to keep a sharp eye on what this.
But back to Dave's point, it'd be nice to have that as an item that we could keep discussing, and when the right moment comes, we execute, not kick the can down the road for 9 months.
And I think the priorities can change too. I mean, we can go with the flow. I mean, as far as, something might come up that might make that project more urgent than not. And but I think the bridge construction, and it's hard telling if that can will get kicked down the road again like it just did. But if it doesn't, then we got some decisions to make, I think. But we need to get a public works director in place, and we know that's in the works.
That can lead right into our next topic, if you like,
Yes.
to keep it all rolling down the lane.
Did anybody else have any other goal setting things before we move on to? Oh, perfect. All right. So next would be plan the second interview for public works director candidates.
Dave, I don't know if you know when you'll be back yet, correct?
I might know Monday or Tuesday. We just had a couple minor setbacks, and it's better to err on safety for my wife's sake that I stay. It doesn't mean that I can't break free at some point coming up here and I get a little relief but being a caregiver, if you haven't been involved in it, is very intense, and I'm burning the candle at both ends, and it's working. I'm making it okay, but it's your priorities have to change a little bit. But my heart is still in making sure that this works. The city runs as good as it can, and with whatever abilities I have to help that, I want to continue. And so I'm hoping it will be soon. I think it will be. I think it indicates that it will be. It's just a matter of it happening, I guess.
So the two options that I kind of threw out to council was to do the 2 and 2 or to do a special. Is there one way or the other that you feel?
Kind of like the 2 and 2 personally, because I don't necessarily want to. I guess there's really no getting around it, but I don't really want to have the interview discussion be open or as open to the public or anybody on YouTube or anybody it's kind of a sensitive topic around engaging around employment. So
I do like the 2 and 2 option too personally. And it feels less like a trial at that point, but
Exactly.
I'll agree with that. I'll go 2 and 2.
I'm the odd man out. I like special meeting. I like, if somebody's gonna be a public works director, then it gives them good practice to be in front of council and the public. And what we do is completely public facing and the salary is paid by the public, so. There's nothing that we're gonna talk about in an interview that we shouldn't talk about in an open meeting.
Well, I think the final one could be that way, Dan. I agree with you on a lot of what you just said, but I think the final, decision could be done obviously in front of everybody, so. Or has to be done in front of everybody, I should say.
And I don't know if you heard Melanie, but she said that we could do a meeting, but not stream it online. It's not required. But it would be open.
and I like if we're having a meeting, especially a council meeting that's open, that it should be streamed,
Yeah.
in my opinion. But
Okay, okay.
Yeah, me too, in this town, otherwise you get accused of being.
Yeah.
All right, final decision then?
honestly, I'm really fine either way.
Me too, 2 and 2 is fine.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference, Dave?
It doesn't matter. Whatever the group wants to do, I'm fine with either way. I like 2 and 2 just because I think it does give you, it doesn't make them, any of the candidates feel like they're in trial.
Not that they would have a problem with this, but it's also they would then have 2 meetings to go to versus 1 where all of you are present. I don't know if that matters.
So I guess how long is this meeting gonna be? I mean, is it gonna turn into an 8-hour interrogation, or are we gonna set some guidelines where we only have a couple of questions?
15 minutes to half hour.
20 to 30 minutes tops.
Any-
I think I sent you, there was 2 that I felt, according to your matrix and stuff that you sent over, there was 2 that.
I had 2 as well that we had chatted about.
There's a couple that I don't want to interview, but the hard thing is that just reading what you said, and interviews don't always show the best, and a report doesn't always show the best. At this point, I'm kind of taking what you and the deputy clerk say a little bit more.
Matt was also present.
I know.
Okay, sorry.
And just because this is a level that's going to be at the director level, and they are going to be reporting to you and the deputy clerk, Melanie, and the council. So I don't know. I'll go with whatever, I guess.
So we have three that don't care and you care that you should have it as a council
No, whichever works best for you.
meeting.
I
Well,
can-
to be honest, it's easier to do one and have everyone present.
Let's do one.
Yeah, that's fine.
So are you gonna send out dates and times for us to pick from, or what are you gonna do, Marcy?
A good idea. I know,
Can you reach out to the candidates?
I think I would just present the time and if they can make it. I would rather see what's available for council. If it's important to them, they'll.
We're looking at next week or the following?
I would love to. I will do it work for council.
I could do Thursday, Friday of next week. Okay, just planning next week or just planning the 25th?
Following week.
Okay, then I could do Wednesday, Thursday. Oh, no, we have city
No,
council
it's
meeting on Wednesday. I could do
So I'm
Thursday,
looking at 1920.
1920 or 23-24. 26-27 would be, it looks like the days that I have the most flexibility.
And would this be in the evening you're thinking or during the day?
I would think evening.
1920, I've got good flexibility.
Me too.
The week after gets a little hairier, but I can make something work.
19, the evening of the 19th is very flexible for me. On Friday, the 20th, I am gonna be busy from 2 to 4.
I like the night, does the 19th work? Dave, does the 19th work for you or?
Well, don't we have a council meeting on the 18th? You were talking 18th, somebody, no, 19th, or 19th and 20th you were talking.
Yeah, so Thursday and Friday, next Thursday, Friday, but leaning more towards Thursday, the 19th. How does that look for you?
I guess you gotta pick a date, we'll just pick a date and go with it. I'll see what I can do.
Home by then too. How do we feel about Thursday, the 19th at 5:30? Or do we want to
Where's the location?
do it here or the fire hall?
What's the availability of
Is this
this?
available? Is a library available?
Not up. Just there after Burger.
Let's kick them out.
Give them notice. Maybe they can.
I think this is the best setting, personally. And I think, as a city, this takes priority. It is our facility. So,
This 5:30 or 5:30.
5:30 works fine. Probably be better.
5:30 on the 19th? Okay,
Again, are we doing all applicants? Are we doing a couple of applicants?
Just my opinion, I think the ones that are worthy of seconds. And what I say that off is there was 3 people involved in the first interviews that all have very different professional backgrounds and personal backgrounds. And for me, looking through and reading through the matrix and the scores, it was, I don't want to say easy, but there was
That's a definite answer in
Yeah.
my mind.
yeah, my mind. But I'm not opposed to all.
fine with me.
I think if you do, depending on the number, you're gonna wanna set a hard stop for each.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's good.
Yeah.
Take much longer than.
Should we,
With the time set, and the place set, the date is set. So we can stop with that and then you can reach out to me. And I'll be in.
Sounds good.
What about questions? do you have, set questions or should we create questions?
So what we could do is forward our questions we use. And then it'd be fun to have a twist to it though, like, cause I know each of you are gonna have your own, set of concerns for this. And, so I want you to have input in the questions that you ask because we care about this. So,
The one thing I wonder, ultimately, it's your team and you hire your team, or that's what's been given out there. I like having input, but it'd be nice to be able to curtail the questions to having the goals that we set as a council. I know that you can get into different questions that maybe are a variation of the questions that you asked, but I don't know that they necessarily tie into our goals. So it'd be nice to try and put some constraints on what we ask so that we don't go off into the weeds, because we do have a tendency to. So.
Never.
Off the wall. I could send out like a Google form on Monday. You guys could put in like question ideas. Then we can put them all together, send out another Google, vote on it.
Yeah. If you send that out, that'd be great. Then I can look at it and send you back what my thoughts are.
You want
Okay.
to limit to like one question a council member? So one.
Yeah, I don't think we need to throw a book at them. I
No.
think just,
we did, our questions consisted of 10, and then the 11th question was what they had for us. That was, that's my favorite, because if they know what they're doing, they're gonna come.
Right.
And that was fun to watch. Who did that.
yeah, I think if we limit it to 1 or 2 questions per council member, I think that's
We
gonna,
had one applicant out with his notebook and said, when we got to 11, we let him know the format of the day. When he came to number 11, he came out with his notebook and had his.
I don't really want to give.
Oh, no. So we had our questions. I said, we're gonna ask our questions. When we're done, we'll let you ask questions to us. And some had none. Said, nope, I'm good. And others had. Which means they knew the job. They wanted to know what we had. What do you do for this? What do you do for this? This here or is this not here? So they knew what they were talking. All right.
Sounds good. I've got some duties I've got to do, so I'm gonna have to bail on you guys, but.
Okay. Well, good luck with your duties.
Um,
Thank you for being here.
would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Dan, do I hear a second? Second by Kyle, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed with the roll call vote. Kyle?
Hi.
Dan? Dave?
Yeah,
And I will also vote yes, that motion carries.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, we'll see you guys later.